Y'all ever watch a movie and suddenly feel like, maybe I should leave the room a little? Like, this should truly be the moment that I think about minding my business. If we're being honest, some films are so emotionally intimate that they are the cinematic equivalent of walking in on somebody crying in the kitchen at 2 a.m. And that's where we have to cut the subtext. The older I get, the more I realize that cinematography isn't just about visuals. It's actually psychology. It's emotional manipulation in the nicest way possible, and cinematographers and directors understanding human behavior just enough to make your body react before your brain catches up. And what fascinates me is actually how some of the most emotional movies ever made aren't actually doing that much on paper. Nobody's jumping off of buildings, and nobody's giving these giant monologues every 30 seconds. Sometimes it's literally just a pause, and then a close-up, and two people avoiding eye contact like their lives depend on it. Which honestly, realistic, because we've all done that. I mean, have you ever rehearsed a conversation in your head and then when you finally go to have it, suddenly you're staring at a lamp because making eye contact is way too vulnerable? Exactly. And filmmakers know that. They know that audiences inevitably read body language and facial expressions before dialogue. That's why Before Sunrise feels so personal. The movie doesn't force emotions onto you. It just stays with Jess and Celine long enough for your brain to start emotionally participating in their conversation, which psychologically makes sense. The longer we observe someone's face, the more we search for emotional meaning in it. And that's when you start asking, why isn't the camera cutting? Good Will Hunting does this constantly, especially in the therapy scenes. The camera slowly moves closer as the emotional tension builds, trapping you in the room with Will and Sean. And because the shot lingers, your brain starts reading everything. The jaw tension, the silence, the eye movement. Then it stops feeling like actors and starts feeling uncomfortably human. You look at them, they look away. Then suddenly everybody finds the ceiling the most fascinating thing they've ever seen. And I think that's why certain films stick with people for years. Not because they were loud, but because they recreated emotions we already understood and finally gave them meaning. That feeling of, I've never been able to explain this before, but somehow this movie gets it, hits hard. And honestly, this is only the beginning of our conversation on cinematography. Because once you realize that cameras are designed to guide emotions the same way music does, you start watching movies completely differently. And the scariest part is the best filmmakers know you better than you know yourself sometimes, which is deeply impressive and mildly concerning, because once a movie understands human psychology, the camera stops feeling like a camera and starts feeling like a person sitting in the room with you. That's why intimacy in cinematography feels so different from spectacle. Spectacle grabs your attention. Intimacy studies your behavior. It notices where you get uncomfortable, where you lean in, and where you stop breathing for half a second because two characters almost said something real. And Before Sunset might be one of the best examples of this. The film slowly removes distraction until Jess and Celine feel emotionally isolated from the rest of the world. The city exists. Other people exist, but visually, none of it matters anymore. Because psychologically, that's what attraction does. You stop processing the room correctly. Everybody else becomes background noise. Like, be serious for a second. We've all had at least one conversation where afterwards we sat in the car like, okay, was that flirting? Or did we just accidentally make eye contact for 45 minutes? That exact emotional confession is basically the visual language of the Before trilogy. And then Good Will Hunting weaponizes emotional repetition, not visibly, emotionally, when Sean keeps repeating, it's not your fault.
I know. No, you don't. It's not your fault. I know. It's not your fault. All right? It's not your fault.
The camera stays close because the film understands something. Humans don't process truths immediately. Sometimes the brain rejects emotion before it accepts it, so the scene keeps pushing and pushing until Will finally breaks, and honestly, so does most of the audience. That is what makes great cinematography so powerful. It creates a physical reaction, tight chest, watery eyes, goosebumps, not because your brain is analyzing the camera angles in real time, but because your nervous system already responded before your thoughts caught up. And I think that's why movies matter so much to people. Sometimes art explains emotions we've been carrying for years without realizing it. A shot lingers. Somebody hesitates before speaking. Two characters sit in silence. Suddenly, you're thinking about your own life without meaning to. So next time a movie gets quiet and the camera stays for a little longer than feels comfortable, pay attention to what's happening to you, because the best cinematography doesn't just show emotions. It pulls you in close enough to recognize yourself inside of it. And maybe that's why films like the Before trilogy stay with people for years afterwards. Somewhere between the pause and the silence and the lingering looks, it feels like time stopped for a second. And once a film learns how to do that to an audience, you stop watching from a distance completely.